people that operate it. The bus driver, the man in yellow who controls the people getting on and off, and the lady in white who controls the money and controls where people sit oftentimes. She will direct, sit here, sit here, sit here. The man in yellow takes responsibility for his customers. If it's an old person, he'll walk them off the boat, and if necessary, walk them right over to the curb where he's sure they're safely not going to get hit by somebody in a motorbike scooting by on the right side. It's like their little castle, if you will. I got a feeling that this lady may have actually had her family make these coverings, because each of these buses seems to have a personal touch that one of the three people takes real priority interest in. On the bus, he'll reach out and grab you and help you make sure that you get on, particularly if it's a young person and they're going to just jump on. He'll make sure that's a successful leap. I think is the Cao Dal Temple. I can't see anything that says that. Right near my hostel, fantastic. Sounds are pleasant enough, but it actually looks rather plain and, to be blunt, cementy. But that, of course, does not necessarily have anything to do with the reverence that people hold for it. The roof line is made out of very simple cut pieces of wood. Be a 360 pan of the Han River front, right down the street from my hostel on Le Duan and Haiphong streets. Gives you an idea of some of the buildings that are going up. That's a beautiful building in every sense of the word that I can use. This is a lovely day to be in Danang, and this is probably one of its bleakest contexts in that we're by the river. You can see how well developed it is, and this is true all over what I'm seeing around Danang, and moving like a good disease further and further out into the countryside, the sidewalks, etc. It's an absolutely perfect day today. The sun's out, it's still cool but not cold, which presages the weather as I move further north to Hue tomorrow and then Danang. One of several major bridges in this area. We'll walk along this waterfront. Today we'll move from my thumb, which is fantastic hostel. I've moved to the right, to the east, to where you see that arrow, which is just about where we are now. And then we'll go down, looking at the Danang Cathedral, then down to the Museum of Cham Architecture, and then to the west over to Pham Lam Pagoda, and then back up to my hostel again. That'll be our loop. Real goal of having these sites laid out is not necessarily to see sites that may well prove to be uninspiring or not, but rather to create an opportunity for the serendipity of what we may discover while we're walking about. These are plant baskets that are set up probably for sale, if not just decoration. I'm guessing they're for sale. They look like they're about ready to blossom out, like these lower ones here, in anticipation of the Tet New Year, which is on the 8th of February. Here we have in one photo three of the some of the iconic elements of the Danang skyscraper, and that is this yellow bridge, which I've seen on end as I've been going south and back from Hoi An and also from Marble Mountain. But now, for the first time, I realize that they've designed it like a naga. See the head over on the left? I never saw that. Then behind that, you can see that red wired bridge that I crossed over, and behind that to the right, the large Ferris wheel. In the next few years, this whole riverfront on both sides will be filled with skyscrapers like that one. I do find curious that post right in front of it in the middle of the river. What was that for? One of the loveliest cities I've seen, one of the loveliest walkways in Asia that I've seen. Typical, I think, of the Vietnamese. Expect to see even more in Hanoi, except it'll be the winter, so here's a pretty little temple. We'll get a better view of the top of it in a few moments from across the street. Here a man polishing up. Look at the difference between what time it's done and what he's doing. Stuck in here between an insurance company's building. I wandered inland from the river just a block because I wanted to see what this greenery was about. That was a pretty building I just panned by. And I don't know that this is much, but it is kind of pretty. It's great. It's a brand new park and basically with a kids element in it. 10 years from now, these trees should be much bigger, give great shade. What a lovely addition to this little area. Approaching from the back of the cathedral. The post-wedding pictures. This is apparently the Danang Cathedral. Simplicity at its best. Thinks there's more over on their corners.
cuộc đời của Chúa về chúng ta trong cái sứ vụ này trong lời nói việc làm mà những điều thiếu sót lỗi tại tôi mỗi nào
This morning's noodle soup has this, which is I think a liver pate. It has chunks of beef. It has some shrimp in it. They've given me some lettuce and something that actually tastes minty, but it doesn't look like mint, so I don't know what that vegetable is. And then just a bunch of other stuff. This viewing platform alongside the river contains a lot of the sculpture that came from, I'm sure, Marble Mountain, but this one in particular was intricately beautiful. Some kind of bird. Notice how our Naga's tail dips underneath the water at this point. It comes up a little bit farther at that next pylon and then a lot higher after the next pylon. Don't forget to notice that building off in the distance. Looks like the top stack on a cruising ship. Flowers bedeck this area, included these ladies, in anticipation of Danang's celebration of Tet. It's like a rampway for those handicapped. Certainly as pretty as the flowers. It almost looks like a paddle wheel, but I don't think it is. I didn't bring my rain jacket, which guarantees that for the first time in Da Nang, even though conditions look like rain, it will rain. Although it did not before. So what looks like an interesting complex, and I am looking for the Cham Museum of Architecture. This could be it. This is all new. Tremendous undertaking in carving, I would think. Although not for these people in this area, is what they do. But it is impressive anyway. All of these panels appear to be different, subtly so, but different. Not to mention that the dimensions change as the wall gets higher. Then putting the finishing touches on the tile work on top of that entryway. These doors, not yet open for business, impressive. Wood. And the side doors. And then more panels. They're a very old building with its swastika on the top. Here, new structures. All of this new. Whether they will have it ready for TED, I don't know, but I think that's what they're planning on. You can well imagine that this is exactly how many of the places I've looked at throughout Southeast Asia on this trip started out looking like this. According to that interpretive sign, all of this architecture, its details were taken from other cultures, and then after this period of its culture, its art declined. Here, this bird-like character that we've seen before, swallowing a snake, certainly symbolism there. We're seeing, I think, at Misum, a couple of domes on a slab, just a fragment. I wonder if it was this kind of a motif that I was seeing. So in theory, these are 1,000 years old, if in fact they're not reproductions. They look pretty darn good. On the other hand, a smart government administration finds a site and quickly grabs the best and sequesters it for their museum. So this may be authentic. Shiva. Shiva, another name for Buddha, another form. Buddha has many forms apparently. Beast has the head of an elephant but the body of a lion, holding of the elephant's intelligence of the gods and the power of the lion's reflection of the gods' power. Found at that Mam in 1934 and added to the collection in 1935. Not seen apparently much in this culture is this type of sculpture. I love the way they take the original pieces and put them into a faux version of the whole. Small panel depicts dancing girls, or Vunu. Apparently this whole column is a motif of women. Whether they're dancers or not, I don't know. It indicates that these are details from the frieze of the building, reminding me of those corner pieces seen so prevalently at Dagan. The beauty of believing in gods, whether it's one or many, is that you can make them whatever you like, because they're unadmittedly fantasies. It's a good strategy as an attempt to educate people better about what they see, and that's these little plastic with inserts in language giving more information about individual sculptures. The genie garden giant, whether that means it's symbolically a giant or was it just garden decoration. The god Shiva or Siva, don't know if there's a difference. Seen, of course, many depictions of this multi-armed creature. I suppose the different arms reflect different capabilities, and maybe even at the end of the arms there are icons that would suggest those functions. It's looking very Roman. Got a number in Roman numerals, 7s to the 8th, and it says that's a reflection of our calendar or not. This was an altar. This is a man fan god. It's interesting to look at the enigmatic smile. It so typifies different smiles, different styles and eras of sculpture in different cultures. Here a pretty and detailed sculpture. Notice it suggests that she's pregnant. Those are really loose characterizations on my part. I'm obviously taking these just because of the curiosity of the art, not with any knowledge of what it means. Although this is that last one. Although this is that last one. One of those columns that goes to either side of a door. The large head, the very robust chest, presumably a man. A little bit of a bulging tummy for some reason. So even gods have issues. Vishnu again. Here, rather than too many hands or arms, only 4, are all of the snake heads. They seem to be the same. I suspect that's a big linga platform and the remains of a linga on top. Very dramatic column capital. I wonder why those goddamn guides have to yell when they're not more than 8 feet away from their farthest client. We'll see now is apparently from Nisun. You can read more about that online. I wonder if those were meant to be lingas. Interesting, because it appears to be stones that would have surrounded some of the small, or one of the small temples that we saw. It'd be interesting to go back and compare what I saw in sculpture in the National Greek Museum. When artists compare the two styles as to what the symbolisms were in each. I wonder what the symbolism is of what she's holding, or it's holding in its hand. Is it an umbrella, symbolically holding up the Buddha? This is probably a model of that temple that was never completed. 30 meters of it was completed in height, but not the final 30 meters. So this is a diorama of Misong. Exactly which is which, I'll have to look at my map and Lonely Planet to figure it out, which I'm sure I can do, than the one that we climbed up onto. It's actually wonderful that they've been able to get these in the great condition they're in and preserve them against the elements and the marauders. Symbolisms are interesting on the statue of a cow, prostrate, with some kind of god issuing from its mouth. looking up at this god, which contains something in its hands, but I don't know what. Imagine someday computer graphics will be able to, at the push of a button, completely transform what you're looking at right now into as closer to the original as possible. You will think you're looking at the original. It will all be a holographic CG illusion that you can then switch off and see what remains. Unfortunately, I can eliminate that bastard's loud voice and put some beautiful music behind this video. This is an interesting map because with the red stars, they define where the Cham culture vestiges were found. So we'll narrow down to Vietnam's narrow profile. Interesting, the lower left one is Mubarak, as I pronounce it. Danang and my song, you can see those right about in the center now. And that gives us a key for those symbols. Also apparently defining what each site is principally known for.
The length of the country from the top down.
I wonder if that object in the left hand is meant to be a knife, a stone knife, or obsidian. Obsidian would be much sharper. If these were or are lingas, I wonder what the small holes denote. This almost looks like a constellation layout, doesn't it? Like the Big Dipper. But they're different. Now they may have held, let's say, brass or gold work hammered out. Yes, they are linga from Misong. Here a pedestal with what looks like a rhino and a hippopotamus cross. And these last couple of sculptures are in their Misong section. Large linga pedestal again. So here we are at Pielap, however one pronounces it. Into where I think the compound is. I don't know if this building to my right has anything to do with it. An old guy came out there and tried to stiff me for 5,000 kips, and I go no, and he puts one, I go no. And he says go ahead. Here's a large Buddha. I don't know where the pagoda is, but we will look for it. Xin chao. A lot of stuff you see is just like the ordinary architecture, just big globs of cement with some decoration on it. Large Bodhi tree. You wonder though if sometime in the past there wasn't a truly elegant building. Interesting that they apparently have brought in some karst material and built this. I don't know that this could be original rock in situ. There's a pigeon who figures this is a pretty pleasant place to hang out. An attempt to turn cold cement into a pleasant place. A little water feature stream. Interesting how corporations manage to tie in. Those small caged birds that flit about, at least this one. God, you think he'd burn out after a bit. There's another one over there. There's several along here. There was an old man down there that showed me where the bathroom was, and we chatted briefly in halting English, and he asked me how old I was, and I said 76, and he goes, oh, 79. And I bowed to him graciously, of course. Pretty flower, interestingly enough, looks like a cobra head, doesn't it? He has a number of people who set up shop and do nothing but clean metalwork. And all the way down that street on the right side for several blocks are people who refurbish or repair motorcycles and scooters with new seats and mechanical work and anything else. My noodle soup for today was, I think it's beef, not beef, probably pork, but I can't be sure. I just don't know that. I've only been eating it for 70 years, but anyway, nice big chunk of that with noodles in it. This is just a couple of blocks away from my hostel, where folks in the morning come. This is a late morning for me because I'm leaving at 12, so I'll leave the hospital at 11. I asked this gentleman over here how much was it. He pointed out it was 30 by showing me 3 10s. Yesterday I got ripped off. Probably would have been for a heck of a lot, except I saw something happening after it was starting to evolve. I ended up probably paying 60, which was twice what I should have paid, but considering that I made the mistake of leaving a 500,000 dong bill on top of my wad, and that's what I gave her, thinking I gave her a 50.